12 Most Powerful Villains of Samurai Jack, narrated by Andrew Lapomardo. Samurai Jack was something very unique and fresh when it was released in 2001. Fans loved this quirky and entertaining animated series on Cartoon Network, and everything about the series, from the stunning visuals to the intriguing plot, impressed its viewers. It enjoyed a successful run of 4 seasons with 13 episodes each, and many years later, it was revived for a darker 5th season. The show was inspired by the TV series Kung Fu, and it revolved around the titular character, Jack, who was a Japanese samurai prince. His kingdom was taken over by an evil shape-shifting demon called Aku, and Jack must fight him against all odds to get it back. However, Aku sends Jack to the future, where a tyrannical demon calls the shots. Jack has to travel back to his own time, and also fight the numerous threats that come his way. It was always fun to wait for Jack's next opponent, and watch him take them on in intense fight sequences. Some of these antagonists were rather challenging, and Jack had to find his way around these confrontations. The villains in this show ranged from alien creatures to cybernetic bounty hunters, and some of them were pretty tough. In this video, we have assembled a list of some of the most powerful adversaries that Samurai Jack has seen.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
The Guardian. The Guardian, as his name suggests, is a protector, and this powerful warrior is known to guard a time portal. When Jack learns about the portal, he arrives at the location only to find a massive graveyard. He then came across a strange source of light, and a tall, muscular man was standing before it. Jack learns that this is the time portal that he is looking for, but the man wouldn't let him enter without a fight.
Simply request your permission to use this great power.
Nope.
This is the Guardian, the mythical warrior who has guarded the portal for eternity.
For countless eons, I have guarded this magical power of time travel.
Anyone who wanted to slip past him ended up dead, and the bodies strewn around the graveyard were actually victims who failed to defeat the mighty fighter. The Guardian was a bald and muscular man who wore a jet black suit with catchy red sunglasses. He carried an elaborate sword alongside many other weapons, including machine guns. It seems like the sole purpose of his existence is to protect the portal. However, he reveals that there is a prophecy about one man defeating him one day.
You see, Samurai, only one man has been prophesied to defeat me.
He refuses to acknowledge that Jack is the prophesized man, and they begin a sword fight. Jack is defeated in no time, but Jack re-engages the Guardian and keeps fighting despite being the clear underdog. He evades the numerous strikes and even manages to ruin his suit by deflecting a couple of his rockets. Jack is eventually knocked out, and just as the Guardian is about to finish him off, the portal gives him a message that causes him to reconsider his move. He allows Jack to get away, and even states that it wasn't time for Jack to use the portal yet.
You can't use it yet, Samurai Jack.
After 50 years, when Jack arrives at the portal again, it is found to be destroyed like the others. And it is implied that the Master of Darkness, Aku, had killed the Guardian. This self-confident and skilled warrior was a treat to watch, and we quite enjoyed his intense fights with Jack. He is dutiful, and has been guarding the portal for eons. Besides his incredible strength, he also has impressive martial arts skills and can use just about any weapon. We loved watching the ageless warrior protect his post, and it is a shame that Aku got the better of him in Season 5.
Moose the Merciless, the Pied Piper of Ruination, the Crooner of Carnage. carnage. The
Scaramouche. This tall, robotic warrior was an android used by Aku as an assassin. Scaramouche had a special skill where he could use his magical voice while fighting his enemies.
Hey, you might have destroyed my magic flute, but you can't destroy the musical magic that is me, babe.
We saw him quite a bit in Season 5, and this homicidal psychopath stole the show with his fun-loving demeanor. He did destroy an entire town to get Jack's attention, but Scaramouche is not really evil, just programmed that way. Not much is known about his origins, but this arrogant android was created by the evil scientist of Aku. He even has a smartphone that he can use at any moment to contact Aku. Jack reaches the destroyed city and finds out about the robotic assassin. He believes that he is Aku's best assassin, and ridicules Jack for his average appearance. He even notices that Jack doesn't have his sword with him, and mocks him about his powerless state without a sword.
Where is your sword?
Just as he is about to inform Aku, Jack destroys the phone, and they begin a gruesome fight. His magical flute causes strange hallucinations in Jack, but finally, he manages to snap out of it to destroy the flute. After a maniacal attack with his blades, Jack throws an exploding sword at him, and it damages the vocal cords of the robotic soldier. Jack then uses Scaramouche's blade to cut him in two. But he still survives the fight after being decapitated.
That's all, babe.
His musical telekinesis is his strongest weapon, and he could create illusions for his opponents. Scaramouche was also well versed with other weapons, and this invincible android could stun his enemy with his super speed and agility. His arrogance is quite obvious, but it also brought about his downfall when he let his guard down during the fight. The defeat caused him to drop through the ranks, but he always maintained the smug arrogance of his. There have been instances that show him to be quite cruel, but it has to be remembered that he is only a robot, and intended to be the way as per the programming of his creators.
Stop! The weak have no place with Aku.
The High Priestess. This psychotic and merciless cult leader headed the cult of Aku. And this was an all-female cult that worshipped the evil lord. The High Priestess not only gives birth to 7 girls during the ritual of the cult, but she also trains them into dangerous assassins. Their mission was going to be the destruction of Samurai Jack, the arch nemesis of Aku. The High Priestess completes her role as a trainer, and then sends off her daughters in masks and weapons to hunt Samurai Jack down and finish him off.
Your training is complete. Go! Kill!
It is safe to say that the High Priestess is more of a secondary antagonist in the series, and we have never really seen her actual face. However, during her birthing process, we saw glimpses of a silhouette of her, and she comes across as a lean lady with long hair. She was dressed in black robes and has horns on her head like Aku. It is unknown how this fanatical cult leader started off being so devoted to Aku. It would have been nice to have a backstory that explained the horrible past that caused her to be that way. We just know that she drank a potion of Aku's essence, and this helped her conceive the human-demon hybrid. Her devotion to the Dark Lord is unquestionable, and there is not a trace of sympathy in her character.
Any mistake is certain death, and death is our failure.
According to the High Priestess, life was simply meaningless, unless it was to serve Aku in some way. She thought of Jack as the main reason for the world to have problems. Basically, we see only 2 instances where she felt something: hatred for Jack and love for Aku. She is so heartless that she doesn't shy away from killing her own daughters when they disobey her.
How could you betray your family? He killed your sisters.
She is shown to be a skilled assassin and an exceptional archer, who could train some incredible ninja fighters. Eventually, her crazy determination to have Jack killed ended her life. One of her daughters, Ashi, impaled her with her own arrow, and the High Priestess met with her end. Ashi, you know someone is badass when they are the ones to kill someone like the High Priestess. Ashi is the daughter of the High Priest, who led the deadly cult that worshipped Aku. She was raised and trained as one of the daughters of Aku, and her training shaped her into a fine warrior. Although she trained alongside 6 of her sisters, she was the only one to have survived. She might have started off as a baddie, but with time, she started to question the evil ways of Aku. She was supposed to kill Jack, but after Jack saved her life, she started having second thoughts about the validity of her purpose. Jack also revealed the true nature of Aku, and how he had unleashed destruction all over the world.
I've seen enough.
Do you believe now?
Ashi came to realize that Jack was actually the good guy, and she questioned her upbringing. During her brutal training, she was taught that Aku was the creator of the world, and Jack was a menace that had to be eliminated. This character undergoes a sea of change, from someone who is willing to kill Jack to someone who saves Jack. In fact, in Season 5, she is one of the strongest and steadiest allies that Jack has. There is a time when she defends Jack from an attack and incurs the wrath of the High Priestess. They fall in love, and it is also revealed in the final season that Aku was actually her biological father.
Yes, I smell me inside of her.
Aku manages to corrupt her, and she transports Jack back to the past, where he has to defeat Aku. However, since past Aku died, she is wiped away from existence on the day of her wedding. While her character meets with a tragic end, a secret alternate ending titled Samurai Jack Battle Through Time suggests that they eventually got married. Ashi might have a petite build, but she could pack quite a punch. After years of training, she had the skills that set her apart from other fighters. Her lean frame has deceptive raw strength, and she is agile as a jungle cat. Overall, this was a character that we all grew to love, and her development was simply remarkable.
Hurts, doesn't it?
Mad Jack. Mad Jack was created by Aku, but he was an embodiment of the inner darkness of Jack.
Who are you, and how have you come to be me?
I am the son of Aku's magic.
Aku wanted to find out if Jack could be defeated using his own strengths against him. Just as you would expect, Mad Jack is an exact replica of Jack. However, there are some differences in his appearance, such as paler skin, blood red eyes, and the black robe with red trim. His look in Season 5 is probably the most disturbing, and you will see him in a demonic and distorted form. Even Mad Jack was armed with a katana like Jack, and this psychopathic villain was completely opposite of Jack in terms of his personality. He is rude, violent, and extremely mean, the embodiment of negativity inside Jack, such as his frustration and rage. After all the fighters sent to eliminate Jack failed, Aku started to wonder if he required something different. This was when he came up with the idea of creating Mad Jack, and he exploited Jack's frustration from fighting constantly. His inner peace was disturbed from all the fights, and Aku's magic gave it shape in the form of Mad Jack. It was quite tough for Jack to deal with this threat, and he even lost his katana due to him. When Aku destroyed the final time portal, Jack was even more frustrated, and it only meant giving more power to Mad Jack. He not only physically fought Jack and troubled him, but he also tormented him mentally. Their fights would cause the perfect stalemate, because their powers were equally matched. However, there was one way to get the better of Mad Jack, and for this, Jack simply had to get a hold of his emotional state, and achieve an inner balance. The moment Jack finds his inner peace, Mad Jack ceased to exist. It's all fun and games until you realize that we all have our own versions of Mad Jack that trouble us in our darkest phases. This was certainly one of the most thought-provoking and innovative characters in the show. The Ultra Robots. These dreaded killing machines were created by Xtor against his will. The purpose of these 8 Ultra Robots was to hunt Jack down, and each one of them had their own unique weapon. They had an identical design and looked funny with their cylindrical heads and thin metallic bodies. These robots also have glowing red eyes that flashed when they spoke. You could say that these Ultra Robots were ultimately powered by Aku's evil essence, and their very creation was scarred with something terribly evil. After Extor was forcibly made to create these machines, Aku tested them out by attacking his village. Extor's home was destroyed, and the Ultra Robots proved to be deadly killing machines. Jack was trying to figure out what caused such destruction in the villages, and this is how he came upon the 8 identical evil bots. The devastation caused in the villages was only meant to draw out Jack, and the plan was clearly successful.
You destroy all of those villages.
To lure you to us.
The Ultra Robots had studied every move of Jack and analyzed his fighting techniques. This ensured that they had an initial advantage over him. In fact, when Jack first tried to fight them, he figured out that he could inflict no damage on these robotic baddies. The Ultra Robots had an indestructible armor plating, and Jack could not cut through it. They could also disguise themselves as baskets and confuse their enemy. They might not be physically intimidating, but they are freakishly strong. Luckily, Extor helped out Jack, and also explained the working mechanisms of these things. Extor also handed Jack a magical gauntlet that would enhance his strength, and it helped him destroy 7 out of the 8 evil robots. To deal with the 8th menace, Jack summoned the powers of the gods that forged his sword, and they answered his prayers by strengthening the sword with divine energy. The last of the Ultra Robots was destroyed, and Jack could breathe easily for a while. Together, these robots could wipe out entire cities, and even the mighty Jack was no match for them until he figured his way out around them. The Imakandi. The Imakandi are an alien race that includes some strange bipedal creatures. They live on a distant planet, and the environment of their home planet is like the savannah. The Imakandi have an insatiable thirst for hunting down their prey, and they are constantly looking for various different kinds of prey. Aku uses this tendency in the species and makes them work for him by promising them the greatest prey that they could ever imagine.
I have traveled far to offer you the greatest hunt.
Any guesses who this prey might be? Samurai Jack, of course. They arrive on Earth, and soon enough, they start tracking his scent to hunt him down. Their attack was sudden, and almost like an ambush that startled Jack completely. He was easily defeated, as he could barely put up a fight against the surprise attack. However, this ended up saving Jack, because the species thought of him to be an unworthy opponent and left. They decided to leave him for Aku to finish off, but Jack wasn't going to take this lying down. Jack escaped his bonds and attacked the alien creatures. And eventually, they were impressed with his determination. One of the Imakandi shot Jack with an arrow that morphed into a deadly snake-like creature and bit him. Jack was injected with some kind of anesthetic poison, and at this point, Aku demanded to have possession of the unconscious samurai.
Yes, now please hand him to me.
No.
This is when he gets to see that the Imakandi actually have a sound moral code. They refused the orders of Aku, stating that Jack was one of the greatest warriors they fought, and he deserves to be free. To save him from Aku, they teleported away in a blinding light, and they helped Jack return to the place where they found him first. They even left him a message telling him how they admired him and had set him free. These master hunters were almost invincible in a group because of their expertise in weapons and skills in combat. Their electric reflexes, superior technology, and their hunting talents make them a formidable enemy. But clearly, they have a very strict code of honor and wouldn't kill a prey if it is not worthwhile. They even show admiration for someone who puts up a great fight and do not give in to Aku's demands. The Imakandi look somewhat amusing, but they certainly were characters that we admired in the show.
One seems to resist. Are you not affected by our song?
The Sirens. If you have watched the show, you certainly remember the 3 hotties called the Sirens. These 3 beautiful ladies dressed in revealing clothing, and they had a general alluring manner about them. You will also find a glowing pinkish aura around them, and all of them have peach-colored skin with large eyes and lips. While they are pretty identical, you can distinguish them by their hair. The main siren has long curly pink hair, and the one to her right has long straight and white hair. The other siren has long white hair that is tied in a ponytail. However, their ravishing beauty can be quite misleading. Whenever they feel distressed, the sirens fuse together into a hideous three-headed creature that has razor-sharp teeth and glowing yellow eyes. One of the special abilities of the sirens was their incredible skill to use a form of musical hypnosis. They sang a song that was capable of hypnotizing anyone who listened to it. Jack managed to resist it for a while, and they soon sang another one to take control of his mind. These shape-shifting ladies were first seen through an eerie fog, and their creepy sound hypnotized the crew of a ship. They were hardly seen talking, and whatever they spoke was in the form of melodious songs. They managed to subdue Jack for quite some time, but eventually he regained his memory and took control. He then changed into his robe and decapitated all three sirens with a single slice of his sword. Their death is regarded as one of the most violent deaths in the show's first 4 seasons.
I am the dealer of destruction.
Demongo. Demongo was one of the strongest minions working for Aku.
One of my most powerful minions.
This dreaded villain was also called the Soul Collector. As we all know, Aku was constantly after Jack's life, but his repeated attempts never seemed to yield results. This got him pretty frustrated, and he sent the Soul Collector after him. Demongo is not any different from his master. However, he is certainly not as brave as Aku, and chooses to stay behind and make others fight for him. He summons powerful warriors for the same, and he is practically obsessed with mighty warriors and beasts who can increase his power. Demongo already has control over many, and he unleashes them on his enemies. Thus, his collection of spirits continues to grow, and he continues growing stronger by the day. While there were clear indications about his cowardly nature, it must be said that he had impressive combat skills of his own. You have to consider that at some point, he did have to defeat the first warrior by himself to collect his soul. His backstory is not clearly elaborated, but he was spawned from the pit of hate, possibly by Aku. Unlike the other villains in the series, Demongo is not short-lived, and he keeps coming back. However, his face-off against Jack did not go as planned. Jack managed to free all the souls that Demongo had trapped, and now, he barely had the power to teleport. The freed warriors overwhelmed him in no time, and his essence was absorbed by Aku. There is a hint of the possibility that Demongo might have aspired to be greater than Aku, because he kept suggesting that Jack was too powerful for his master, but not for him. We also get glimpses of his resurrection powers, because he does manage to come back from the dead after Aku executed him. In short, the skinny demon with a red cape surely made life difficult for Jack, and he was one of the strongest enemies he had to face.
Welcome to your doom.
The Lava Monster. The Lava Monster, like you would expect, is made up of lava and stone. This gigantic creature originated many centuries ago, possibly around Jack's time. Previously, he was a Viking warrior and lived peacefully until Aku attacked one day. He and his forces were crushed under the might of the Dark Lord, and even the Viking warrior was no match for him. He still tried to destroy Aku, but the latter was merely amused by the efforts. Later, to make an example out of him, Aku imprisoned him inside an unbreakable crystal. Aku then went on to destroy his beloved homeland, and the warrior was forced to watch this helplessly. Even his afterlife was curtailed, and he was sealed in the core of a mountain. Over the years, the warrior learned how to manipulate the lava inside the mountains, and he kept drawing in heroes into a perilous cavern. He could create powerful magma eruptions at will, and manipulate the ground around him. He simply hoped that someone would be strong enough to free him from the curse of Aku. And Samurai Jack heard his calls while passing through a nearby field. Once he reached the cavern, he found booby traps all around him, and skeletons were strewn all over the place. Jack managed to reach the end, and the lava monster challenged him to battle it out. The creature seemed very eager to fight, but Jack refused to, and sheaths his sword. However, the monster then revealed that this was the only way to reach his desired afterlife. He had to fall in battle as a warrior, and hearing this, Jack resumed fighting to free him. He successfully helped the lava monster to escape from the curse, and it smiled in gratitude for what Jack had done. This master swordsman is hardly a villain, but he did seem like one initially, and he was certainly no less powerful than some of the antagonists. Celtic demons. One of the trusted allies that Samurai Jack had was the Scotsmen. The Celtic demons were created especially to kidnap his wife. These were demon-shaped robots, and not much is known about their origins. They were going about their mission just as planned, and were on the verge of eating the Scotsman's wife when the moon was full. However, the Scotsman and Jack arrived just in time, and their plan was foiled. Their leader made the mistake of calling the Scotsman's wife fat, and in rage, she destroyed them all. Individually, the Celtic demons weren't all that deadly, but they came in massive battalions, and that made them a force to reckon with. These demonic robots were heavily armed and had an array of powerful weapons to choose from to use against their enemies. While the Celtic demons have a robotic origin, their leader is a true demon, and he is based on an ancient Celtic pagan deity. It is safe to say that the Celtic demons proved to be one of the toughest adversaries encountered by Jack, because even with the Scotsman, he was on the verge of being defeated. They certainly added a touch of comedic element to the narrative, and it was fun to watch the Celtic demons in action. Aku, the main villain in the series, is easily the most powerful of them all. He was born from a black mass of darkness, and the shapeshifting demon wreaked havoc on the earth for eons. His origin story is rather interesting. An evil entity arose a long time ago, and the three powerful deities, Odin, Ra, and Rama, fought it successfully. Although they put it out of existence, a small fragment managed to get cut off from the whole and escaped being destroyed. It went unnoticed by the three deities, and it stayed low for centuries, drifting through space. Later, it crashed into the Earth during the era of the dinosaurs, and it is implied that the dinosaurs went extinct because of it. Over the years, the black entity started to grow into a forest of black tree-like spikes, and Jack's father, the Emperor, decided to destroy it all. Unfortunately, during the attack, the dark entity gained a humanoid form with intelligence and shape-shifting abilities. This entity is called Aku, and he defeated the Emperor. He made him watch as he destroyed his kingdom and the people. Thus, the evil dark force of Aku was born. He terrorized the world for a few millennia and became the undisputed leader. Eventually, Jack would prove to be his biggest enemy, and he constantly tries to kill him off. This cruel and evil lord was formidable, and his actions proved that he was absolutely merciless. The sadistic villain was almost immortal, and the ultimate expert in black magic. He was all-powerful and almost impossible to defeat. Such a capable antagonist made sure that the series retained its spark throughout the 5 seasons. And this shape-shifting demon was unquestionably the toughest challenge for Jack.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.
You're back already?